Vietnam steps up economic ties with Algeria and Portugal. Franchising in Vietnam.
Hello from Hanoi and welcome to Bizline, brought to you by VTV International. My name is Linh Hương, and as usual, we start with several highlights in the economic scene for the past week. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng was on an official visit to Algeria from May 31st to June 2nd at the invitation of his Algerian counterpart Abdel Malek Sela. In their meeting on June 1st, the two leaders pledged to establish more effective cooperation in many fields, including textiles, garments, agriculture, oil and gas. Prime Minister Dũng also attended an Algeria-Vietnam business dialogue on May 31st, where he called for more collaboration and trade between businesses of the two countries. He then visited the headquarters of Algeria's Sonacharge Petroleum Corporation, which is currently in partnership with Petro-Vietnam on a $1.2 billion joint oil exploration project. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng then visited Portugal on the 3rd and 4th of June. On Wednesday, he held talks with his Portuguese counterpart, Pedro Passos Coelho, in Lisbon, where they agreed to enhance two-way trade and investment activities. Prime Minister Passos Coelho stated that Vietnam has Portugal's full support in fostering ties with the European Union and signing the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement. Later, the Vietnamese Prime Minister chaired a Vietnamese Economic Forum and co-chaired the 2015 Blue Business Forum in Lisbon. He also witnessed the signing of several bilateral agreements, including pacts on double tax avoidance, tourism cooperation and joint activities between the two finance ministries. Continuing the 9th session of the 13th National Assembly, deputies on Tuesday discussed the amended law on the state budget. According to many deputies, the distribution of the state budget should be decided by the National Assembly, not by the government. Moreover, they also propose to tighten the authorities of people's councils in the allocation of state funds. On Thursday, the deputies heard the government's report on the Long Thanh International Airport project. The deputies then gave their opinions on the financing and time frame of the project, amongst other key issues. The airport, once completed, will have a full capacity of 100 million passengers per year. The National Assembly is scheduled to cast a final vote on the project on June 25th. The World Bank will provide $3.8 billion for Vietnam's development during the 2014-2017 period. Vice President of the World Bank Phon Am Bac announced the news during a meeting with Vietnam State Bank Governor Nguyễn Văn Bình on Wednesday in Hanoi. The World Bank wants Vietnam to accelerate the progress of the development programs and projects in order to make full use of the funding. Governor Nguyễn Văn Bình affirmed Vietnam's commitment to doing so. At the same time, he asked the bank to continue offering funds for Vietnam after 2017, helping Vietnam's sustainable growth. A cooperation agreement between the Japanese Committee on Study of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries Strategies and Vietnam's Ministry of Science and Technology was signed on Tuesday in Hanoi. One of the important commitments was to help Hải Dương, Quảng Ninh, Bắc Giang provinces export 1,000 tons of lychee to 6 foreign markets in 2015. Japan has also committed itself to helping farmers in these provinces in planting, harvesting, storage, processing, and export using high-tech applications. Manufacturing growth gathered pace in May with rising demand leading to a high record growth in output and new orders, HSBC Vietnam said in its monthly report released this Monday. The Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, rose to 54.8 from 53.5 in April, making the monthly growth the strongest since April 2011. Central to the market strengthening of the sector's health was a record increase in new business. The rate of job creation also picked up pace during the month, HSBC added. Meanwhile, input costs increased for the first time in 7 months, but companies continued to lower their output prices. During the first 5 months of this year, Ho Chi Minh City has become the most attractive locality in Vietnam for foreign direct investment, with a total investment capital of more than $983 million. This is according to the Foreign Investment Agency under the Ministry of Planning and Investment. In the past 5 months, newly registered and additional capital in the whole country had reached $4.3 billion. Most of the FDI has been poured into real estate and the processing and manufacturing industry. For the last 5 months, an estimated $4.95 billion has been disbursed for FDI projects, a 7.6% increase year-on-year. Those are several economic and business highlights from last week. Up next, we'll talk about franchising model in Vietnam in our crosstalk. More than a decade ago, stores with the same trademark, the same style of service, menus, uniforms and decorations were a new phenomenon in Vietnam. Since then, this business model has developed quickly. Today, many famous foreign brands have reached Vietnamese customers through their franchise networks. In addition, several Vietnamese businesses have also expanded through the franchising model. In this week's edition of Crosstalk, let's explore this trend with Mr. Sean Ngo, CEO of VF Franchise Consulting. But first, let's take a look at the following clip.
The past few years have seen the increasing presence of big international franchises in Vietnam, including Starbucks, McDonald's, and Burger King. Currently, there are 133 international franchise systems listed on the Ministry of Industry and Trade's website. Along with the inflow of big international franchises, many Vietnamese brands have also followed this trend and developed this business model. The main areas of franchising in Vietnam are food and beverage, followed by services.
First of all, thank you very much for taking your time to join us in this interview. Our first question is, what does it mean to be a franchise?
When we talk about franchising, it's really about the franchisor's business model and their trademarks. And so it's about owning a business model, owning a trademark that you basically allow somebody else to operate for a certain fee. Franchising itself really means that, for the customer to experience the same experience every unit they go to, right? And that's why we have the franchise system, and that's why the franchisor often has a lot of control over the franchisee to ensure that not only are the standards set and the same and are uniform across different countries, different regions of the world, but that they also give full training, full support to ensure that the franchisees become successful as well for the long term.
What are the benefits of franchising then?
They're slightly different between franchisor and franchisee, right? For the franchisor, of course, it's faster growth, right? And in the franchising world, where people copy you all the time, growing very quickly is very, very important. And companies like McDonald's and KFC and Pizza Hut have been very good examples of that, where they have made franchising very, very successful. And even though McDonald's would like to open up their own stores all around the world, it's very, very expensive to do, so they often lack the money and the resources to do that. Not only money, but also local know-how, local market knowledge, as well as just understanding the local conditions and the franchising laws and that type. From the franchisee side, the benefits, of course, is we get a world-class system that is proven internationally. We get an infrastructure in place that has not only supply chain worked out, but human resources worked out, training worked out, product development worked out. So we have a lot of areas where we are, while we are new to franchising, potentially, we actually have a great brand that is actually very, very experienced and very successful in franchising worldwide.
How about the risks?
Well, the risks are on both sides as well, right? So the risk for the franchisor is finding the wrong partners. And, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for franchisors to enter another country if the country they just entered in has become a failure. And so they spend a lot of time and effort to ensure that they find the right partners. Now on the franchisee, of course, with a proven system, there's the fee to pay for that proven system, right? And we often have to pay things like franchise fees, royalties. We often have to commit to a certain number of units to be developed within the country over a certain period of time. We often have to commit to a certain amount of marketing spend, which is important to grow the franchise, especially as you're entering a new marketplace.
Korean franchise BBQ Chicken opened its first store in Vietnam in 2007 and now operates in 24 locations across Vietnam, 17 of which are franchisees. To ensure the consistency of the BBQ brand, the franchise exercises strict control over its franchisees.
It is especially difficult to manage our franchisees to ensure that they strictly follow the procedures and know-how that we have transferred to them. Many franchisees have tried to reduce costs by using ingredients that do not meet the standards that we set, or cut a few steps in the management system. This directly affects the quality of our products and services, and in the long term, negatively affects the brand's value.
To obtain high-quality ingredients, BBQ Vietnam currently imports their ingredients from South Korea and Malaysia, but plans on establishing facilities in Vietnam to locally produce some of their trademark ingredients. To bring well-known international franchises to Vietnam, Vietnamese franchisees have to meet very high requirement of investment from international franchisors. Another way to work it out for Vietnamese franchisees is to target less well-known but highly potential international brands. Taiwanese brand Cha Time is an example. According to the owners of a Cha Time store in central Hanoi, they chose Cha Time because they themselves are fans of the brand, and they can meet the required investment of the franchisors.
Và mỗi khi công ty muốn mở thêm một cửa hàng mới thì phải gửi toàn bộ những concept của cửa hàng và vị trí của cửa hàng sang bên cho Đài Loan. Họ duyệt thì chúng tôi bắt đầu mới được tiến hành và mở cửa hàng, khai trương cửa hàng mới.
Taiwanese franchisors also come to Vietnam annually to check the quality of each store. Establishing in 2013 with current sales of 200 to 300 drinks a day, this Cha Time store is working on improving the efficiency of the franchise model they have chosen since the very beginning.
The past few years have seen the entrance of many big international franchises, including Starbucks, McDonald's. Why is the Vietnamese market attractive to those international franchises?
Well, Vietnam is a little bit unique in many ways. One of the obvious things is just the demographics. It's a very young population. 60% of the population is under the age of 30. There's 92 million people, according to some research, and growing 1% a year. And most importantly, GDP per capita has been growing consistently over the last 10, 15 years. And it's projected to grow quite rapidly, quite strong in the next decade. In fact, Goldman Sachs came out with a report a few years ago saying, Vietnam could be a top 10 economy by the year 2050 if these current growth rates continue the way that they grow today. So it's a very attractive market. It's a very young population. It's a very entrepreneurial society, so we see a lot of future spending, and that's what excites Starbucks. That's what excites McDonald's and KFC. It's not about what the GDP is today, it's about that real potential in the next decade or two.
So what must international franchises do before entering Vietnam?
Obviously, the more you understand the country, the better the chance of success, right? So many brands, as you probably have seen, have localized some of their products and services, right? So you can see Starbucks doing that with offering a Vietnamese version of the coffee. You see Coffee Bean doing that. And you start to see many other brands like KFC that now serve rice, roast chicken, all kinds of Vietnamese soup, Vietnamese salad, all kinds of products that cater to the Vietnamese consumers. But at the same time, staying true to their international brand, which is you can get fried chicken this way or that way, you can get hamburgers this way or that way. So it's about keeping their core menu, but at the same time respecting the cultural differences and understanding what people really are looking for when it comes to their products and services.
Like the international franchises based in Vietnam, franchises established by Vietnamese people are also developing quickly. Urban Station Coffee is an example. Established in 2011 by two young students, Urban Station currently has 40 franchises nationwide. Đinh Nhật Nam, co-founder of Urban Station, cited a deep involvement in the operations of the franchisees as the key to maintaining the consistency of the products.
toàn bộ những cái quyền mà quản lý hay vận hành cửa hàng, từ việc điều chuyển nhân viên, tuyển dụng nhân viên, thậm chí là sa thải nhân viên, thì toàn bộ những cái quyền mà tạo nên một cửa hàng đó đều là của công ty Urban Station hết. Hầu như các chủ đầu tư của Urban Station họ chủ yếu là đầu tư về mặt tài chính nhiều.
Urban Station Lý Quốc Sư is the 36th store opened in Vietnam. According to the store owner, the store owes its success to its central location in the capital city.
Một cái chất lượng đồ uống và về nhân viên, về vận hành là tôi sẽ không phải để tâm đến nhiều nữa, mà tôi chỉ tập trung vào PR cho địa điểm của mình thôi. Thì tôi thấy có những ràng buộc, nhưng những ràng buộc đấy lại là ưu điểm đối với tôi.
Urban Station has proved its early success. However, the more successful the business is, the more susceptible it is to imitation and plagiarism.
Cái việc mà copy được concept hay là copy được toàn bộ công thức của Urban Station, ai cũng có thể làm được. Mọi người Google làm ra. Vấn đề làm nên Urban Station như ngày hôm nay là một cái chiến lược hay là một cái sự định hướng lâu dài cho một thương hiệu. Nó không nằm ở cái việc là anh chỉ mang những cái bàn ghế, những cái đèn, những cái design như vậy, hay là cái cách pha chế như vậy. Nó còn là ở cái quy trình làm việc, quy trình quản lý, quy trình báo cáo và một cái hệ thống quản lý đa cấp từ trên xuống dưới.
In contrast to Urban Station's modern and vibrant color is the earthy style of Koh Samui. Koh Samui, known for its Thai dessert, is a Vietnamese brand established by 4 Vietnamese members in 2014. It started as a small cafe in central Hanoi. After a year, Koh Samui has expanded to 7 stores, 4 of which are franchised.
Với một loại hình đồ ăn nhanh, đồ ăn gọi là đồ ăn tráng miệng dessert của Thái, tôi nghĩ là cái sức thu hút của nó sẽ rất là nhanh. Nhưng tôi cũng biết là cái tốc độ sao chép của Việt Nam cũng rất là nhanh, và tôi biết được điều đó, nên là tôi nghĩ rằng việc đánh chiếm thị trường là cái điều quan trọng để chúng tôi sẽ chiếm lĩnh thị trường ở Hà Nội tối thiểu.
Unlike well-established foreign franchises, domestic brands with franchise model were built from scratch by mostly Vietnamese youth. Therefore, maintaining the brand's quality and sustaining the growth of franchisees are critical goals for Vietnamese franchisers.
Hiện tại thì Urban Station cũng nhận được một số lời mời hợp tác từ những đối tác như là ở Thailand, ở Philippines, hoặc là ở Campuchia. Tuy nhiên là cũng đang đứng trước những cái cơ hội như vậy, thì Urban Station cũng đang đắn đo rất là nhiều giữa cái nội lực của mình đã chuẩn bị kỹ chưa, thị trường trong nước mình hoàn thành tốt chưa, thì sau đó thì bọn em mới chuẩn bị ra thị trường nước ngoài.
Finding the right candidates to become franchisees also plays a vital role in sustaining a strong brand.
Đầu tiên, cái tiêu chí đầu tiên đó là background, hay là cái nền tảng của đối tác, như là về học vấn, về kinh nghiệm, trình độ. Chưa bao giờ chúng tôi gọi là nhượng quyền thương hiệu cho một cá nhân, mà nó sẽ là sự kết hợp của cả nhóm, cũng như chúng tôi có 4 người mới lập nên được một sự Koh Samui như ngày hôm nay.
Many franchises in Vietnam are still in the early stage of development, while international franchises have had years and even decades of experience. So what are the challenges and opportunities that a new franchise have?
If you look around the region, some of the largest locally owned franchises and franchisors also own international franchises. So what they've done is they've coupled their own systems with systems that they have brought from world-renowned brands. And what these world-renowned brands bring to them is the knowledge, the know-how, the transfer of technology, the transfer of know-how, and how to build a world-class franchise system and how to support a world-class franchise system. So whether you're supporting franchisees in Vietnam or whether you seek to expand regionally, understanding what world-class best practices are can help you significantly to develop your own franchise brand. So that becomes very, very important. And a lot of times what we see is many local brands, not only in Vietnam but in many different countries, where they try to seek to franchise out their business too quickly, just because they haven't really perfected the business model yet, and they really haven't developed it and have incorporated an infrastructure that can support franchisees. So when you take it to the franchising level, you have to make sure that you have the systems in place, the people in place to support it. Otherwise, it will all come crumbling down not too long from the time that you start franchising.
After becoming a partners or a franchise, what should be done in order to ensure the success of the franchise?
Well, that's actually the hardest part. Signing an agreement is actually the easiest step in franchising. So supporting franchisees is critical for success, because when franchisees are not successful, they break contracts, they terminate the contracts, and of course the franchise system fails. And everybody is affected in very different ways, but very significantly. So that said, like a marriage, it's all about supporting one another. What you do best as a franchisor means that you have to do well, right? You have to come up with the new products that are appropriate for the local marketplace. You have to continue to innovate. You have to continue to develop new products, to offer, world-class training. All those things that you are expected to do as a franchisor. As a franchisee, you are expected to execute extremely well, right? And quality assurance is one of them. Not only do you have to do it, but perhaps the franchisor can help you audit and ensure that you have the franchise systems and quality assurance in place, because that is really at the core of franchising, right? It's about having the same customer experience wherever you go, whether it's in Vietnam or Thailand or anywhere else in the world.
In Vietnam, franchising is governed by the 2005 commercial law. To conduct franchising activities, a franchise system must have been in operation for at least 1 year. It must be registered with the Ministry of Industry and Trade and provide goods and services that are not on the list of banned goods and services. However, the current legal framework still needs improvements.
Chúng ta thiếu rất nhiều các cái quy định là cái việc là kiểm soát của cái bên nhượng quyền đối với lại bên nhận nhượng quyền. Bên cạnh đó thì chúng ta thiếu một cái cơ chế giải quyết tranh chấp giữa bên nhượng quyền và bên nhận nhượng quyền.
Going forward, what should be done in terms of legal framework, business environment, in order to ensure success of Vietnamese and international franchises?
Well, contrary to what people think, franchising laws can actually be very good for the franchising industry if they are structured in the right way. In Vietnam, there are retail laws according to WTO commitments, and of course, there are things like economic needs test. And because franchising is under the retail laws of Vietnam, many foreign companies that wish to come into the country as a franchise are basically prevented from doing that because of the economic needs test. Now, in 2015, this year, much of that supposedly goes away. So if that is the case, then that opens the door for more international franchises that wish to enter the markets, and they can do it on their own or they can go through a local partner franchisee.
How do you anticipate the future developments of franchising in Vietnam, including both Vietnamese and international franchises?
Well, Vietnam, as unique as it is very similar to other countries, and we know that from history, the franchising industry develops over time. In certain countries like the Philippines, the franchising industry is very, very developed and can contribute significantly to the country's GDP. In the U.S., where there are over 4,500 franchise systems, it makes up for 10% of GDP and contributes up to 10% of the employment of not only the people in franchising, but the supporting industries that support the franchisors. So what we see is that development in franchising is not going to stop, especially in very entrepreneurial societies where people want to be their own boss, right? So franchising is a great opportunity for that type of entrepreneur. But that said, the growth of franchising in terms of the number of systems continues to grow anywhere from 20 to 25% per year. And that's very, very healthy growth. compared to the region.
Once again, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with Crosstalk today.
Thank you very much.
With Vietnam's strong culture of entrepreneurship, franchising is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to start a business in a short period of time. Franchises, in comparison to new business, have a more limited risk, a modest amount of invested capital, and a proven track record of success. The franchising trend is expected to continue in Vietnam with rising interest from international franchises and Vietnamese businesses growing with this model. And that's it for this episode of Bizline. Thank you very much for being with us. To rewatch our program, please visit vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go. And goodbye for now from Hanoi.